will join us very, very shortly, but at 9 o'clock it's time for a news update, and it's over to Catherine Gaffney.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Some patients have been waiting over 4 years for a hospital procedure, according to a leading HSC official. The target is for outpatient lists to be down to 18 months by December and a year for inpatient procedures. Just under 700,000 people are waiting for one of these consultations at the moment. Tony Canavan, the chief executive of the Sale to Hospital group, which covers Donegal, says the targets will be difficult to achieve.
There are patients on our waiting list that are waiting in excess of 4 years currently, and the numbers of those patients has increased, as I say, during the COVID period. The majority of patients on waiting lists are within a 2-year time frame, the vast majority, but there are patients that are waiting up to 3 and even 4 years for appointments and treatments.
The HSE chief executive says Ireland and our child and adult mental health services are providing a good level of care for those who need it. A review published this week found 46 children were significantly harmed after being prescribed inappropriate medication by a junior doctor in the CAM service in South Kerry. The government's indicated those involved will be compensated. However, it is expected to also lead to a series of medical negligence cases. But HSE CEO Paul Reid says while what happened is wrong, it doesn't mean the public can't have faith in CAMs.
I don't undermine at all what happened in this case. It was wrong by any assessment. But I do want to assure the public what is in place are a whole suite of supports, not just in CAMs, which is for a really smaller percentage of people who are suffering with mental illness, but a whole range of supports in the community are there, and we want to make sure they're strong and continue to grow.
And there's calls for the HSE to prioritise the restoration of day services at Carrandona Community Hospital. The service was withdrawn almost 2 years ago, and it was confirmed in November last year that the HSE property management team were tasked with finding a suitable alternative facility in Carrandona. Councillor Albert Doherty, who is a member of the Regional Health Forum West, is now, in response to a lack of progress by the HSE, appealing for assistance from the community to enable the sourcing of a suitable and appropriate facility.
On Tuesday of this week, the HSE property management team again said that finding a suitable alternative facility in the Carrandona area was proving daunting. So I'm making an appeal today again that if there's somebody out there that believes their facility is a suitable facility that will allow and enable us to come back sooner rather than later, then please get in contact with myself or with HSE.
Weather now, a cloudy start with patchy rain and drizzle, which will linger into the afternoon and evening. Temperatures of 9 to 11 degrees. We're back with more at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Have you heard the news? The Irish Independent has a new podcast.
We're not in the fairy tale business as journalists. We're in the truth business, and the question was there.
20 minutes, 5 days a week. The Indo Daily takes you beyond the headlines and into Ireland's most talked about stories.
So 25 years on, people are absolutely fascinated again with this case.
The Indo Daily podcast, named one of Apple's best new podcasts of 2021.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And a very good morning to you on this Friday the 28th of January. It's 4 minutes past 9 and you're very welcome along to today's 9 till noon show. Our lines are open for you right now. Michaela taking your calls and comments to 07491 25000 if you want to get involved in the conversation. You can do so also via WhatsApp or text 086 60 25000. If email is your thing, comments at highlandradio.com. And if you want to watch the programme and engage with us there, you can go onto our website, highlandradio.com, and you'll be able to click through and watch in your browser, or you can hop on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, or on Facebook on either of our Facebook pages. All right, let's introduce you to our Friday panel this morning. We'll say good morning first to Brid Curran, solicitor. Good morning to you, Brid. Great to have you back on the programme. How are you keeping?
Thanks a million for having me back. Thank you.
No, it's our pleasure. Also, Eamon Mc Gee, All-Ireland winner with Donegal, columnist and a guest on this programme. Hi, Eamon.
Hey, Greg. How's the farm?
Long time no see. How are you keeping?
I'm keeping good.
Brilliant stuff.
How's the farm?
Good. The form's all right. And finally, Leonard Watson, owner of Watson's Menswear and member of Letterkenny Chamber. The only question from Leonard is how long will it take for him to try and plug the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Letterkenny? We'll see. Hi, Leonard.
Good morning, Greg. Morning, folks.
All right, okay.
Morning.
Well, not immediately, so we're doing all right.
I'll be diplomatic here. Like.
All right, good man. Now, during the week, Taoiseach Micheal Martin described a review of the care of more than 1,300 children who attended the HSE-run South Kerry Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service, known more generally as CAMHS, as very, very serious and unacceptable. He described it as a profoundly serious issue and told the Dáil today it demands a fundamental review. That was earlier in the week. He said the HSE report is a damning indictment of the service provided under CAMHS in South Kerry. Following the publication of the report, there'll be a full audit nationwide of compliance with CAMHS operation guidelines. In addition, a prescribing audit will be conducted in each of the 72 CAMHS teams to include a random selections of files proportionate to the medical caseload from a continuous 6-month predefined time period in 2021. This obviously was a focus on South Kerry. Very, very disturbing, but it seems inevitable, would you agree, Leonard, that they're going to uncover similar situations around the country, or is that an unfair assessment? It's just we've been contacted by multiple people who heard the awful experience of those young people and their families and saying, that's what we've experienced.
Yeah, George, Greg, I was saying to people yesterday, when you need the help of CAMHS, your family's in desperation, you have a child or an adolescent who really needs help. As you're at the end of your tether, from personal experience, my family, we're trying to deal with CAMHS at the moment, but it's just a situation that what happened in Kerry was absolutely awful. Here in Donegal, we're having it's a different situation. You cannot get an appointment with CAMHS. Our personal situation, 7 months it took us for them to actually speak to us, and then you get a letter out to say that you're now in the waiting list and it's going to be 6 months plus. But this is a 7-year-old child here who's got complex needs and that, and they tell you it's not an emergency. You're waiting over a year, it's disgraceful. It's just the whole system needs a full review.
What support might a family get in that intervening time? Because obviously, as you say, people are in a situation that right, we're going to have to go to CAMHS, right? So, and maybe if you didn't know the background, you might think that you are instantly, in a process or getting support or care. That clearly is not the case. You're told there's a waiting list and so on and so forth. So what are parents supposed to do and guardians in the meantime?
Greg, it's left to yourself. At the end of the day, a lot of people will chat to you and tell you, we're trying to help you here, but that doesn't work when you're at home or you have an adolescent that's maybe up all night. And in our case, it's just our wee fella's ADHD and autism. And it's a 7-year-old child. It's also quality of life for the family. But it's not just us. This is hundreds of families around Donegal. This is a wider problem in Donegal, and I'm sure other counties too are having similar or different problems. Even there in the part of respite centres in Donegal, which is a vital for some families. 2 of them are shut at the moment. There's only 2 open at the moment, so they're picking up the slack for the whole county. And something has to give. And when I ask the questions, it's all about. It just seems to come back to funding. They'll tell you there is no psychiatrist or that staff that there, but sometimes you just feel that you're banging your head off a brick wall.
Mm-hmm. And that, you see, this is the thing. This report, this review, will be conducted, and as we said on the programme yesterday, I think we can probably predetermine much of the outcomes of it.
Yeah, Joe. I heard the Taoiseach just saying yesterday, most children are seen within 48 hours, or a lot of children. I would love to see statistics of that there. When you get a letter out, it doesn't even give you a date. It just says 6 months plus. That could be a year. That could be a year and a half. And what are you meant to do for that year and a half? You just have to protect that child as much as you can and make sure they're not in danger. And they're, it's a terrible indictment on our system.
And it was said yesterday that the state will consider an official apology to children and parents impacted by the report into prescription practices at child and adolescent mental health services in South Kerry. It said it found children had been prescribed inappropriate medication, with 46 of them being harmed significantly as a result. Brid Curran, I beg your pardon. Brid Curran, my apologies.
I think she's a minister, or was. Is she a politician?
Yeah, I believe so. She is. I'll tell you what. I was listening to the Paul Reid this morning of the HSE responding to this. I don't know if you heard the interview. And as soon as the conversation gets to whether a service is safe and accountability, the same old lines are wheeled out. No harm to it. It's just like I'm thinking this person's the top person in this organisation, and
earning how much?
Well, 300,000 or 400,000 euro, and as soon
492,000.
Oh, my apologies. But as soon as we try and get to the nitty gritties, it's just like. I'll say anything but answer the question.
Yeah. Do you know where the Secretary General of the Department of Health and the Minister for Health are today? They're in Dubai on a health and wellness expo for a couple of days. Now, I don't know about the rest of the panel, but certainly a trip to Dubai would help my health and wellness during the dark months of January. But the message that's sending out is absolutely horrific. We have a major crisis in psychiatric and psychological services in this country. This is not about one doctor. This is about governance and oversight. It's about a failure to invest in mental health services in this country. I was really cross, and I agree with Leonard, I was really cross when I listened to Leo Varadkar yesterday, because Leo would have it spun that this was one doctor who concerns were raised about him. We're going to have the Maskey report, and that's going to sort everything, and we're going to paper over the cracks and everything's going to be fine. It's not going to be fine unless we significantly invest in governance and oversight in mental health services in this country. Unfortunately, Leonard's experience with his lovely 7-year-old is going to be repeated in any family who needs to approach these services and look for help. We need significant investment, and we've had years of failure to invest. And Paul Reid, really cross again with him this morning coming out. It's so easy to say I'm sorry, but it's much harder to do actually something about it. And meanwhile, our minister and the Secretary General, who's on a huge salary, are in Dubai. They need to be at their desks, and they need to be doing something about this.
Would it be a realistic expectation, given this report is only in one CAMHS area, and given the extent of the problem, is it realistic to say that they should have said, given the news that's broken this week, we're actually going to cancel that trip and focus on sorting the situation out?
It's all about optics.
Okay, but is that an unreal expectation, or should they have done that, do you think?
They should have done that. This is far too serious, and your experience of people calling in and saying, I'm working in the Galway-Roscommon area. I've had exactly the same issues been raised with me in the last couple of days with regards to CAMHS in the area that I'm working in. And it's too easy for Leo Varadkar to say, oh, these families will get compensation. Compensation wouldn't pay you for the trauma and the difficulty that these children and their families are going through.
Can I ask you a question about the compensation? Because listening to interviews, there's an awful lot of focus on that as well. Mm-hmm. Do you think the media actually should be focusing more, rather than those specific cases which are important, and compensation, and will the HSE defend cases actually talk about, hold on, that's potentially the tip of the iceberg. We'll talk about that element of it down the road, but let's focus on what's happening right around the country right now whilst the topic is hot.
Compensation is not the answer to this. We shouldn't be making these mistakes in the first place. Compensation wouldn't pay Leonard in relation to what he's going through. You can't put a price on your child's health and happiness and well-being. This is about governance and oversight. This doctor was practicing for 2 years before a whistleblower came forward and said that he's diagnosing too quickly, he's over-relying on medication. This should have been caught within the first 6 months of an issue with this particular doctor. It's governance, oversight, it's investment. We're only at the tip of the iceberg. I'm seeing, particularly in my work, an awful lot of young people after the pandemic struggling with mental health issues, particularly that young generation, the 14 to 22, 23-year-old. I'm seeing an awful lot of issues coming up in the criminal courts. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. Mm-hmm. That's just one solicitor in one area. We need to talk about mental health. We need to talk about investing in mental health. We need to talk about resourcing our doctors. We need to talk about governing and providing oversight in relation to. It wasn't just one doctor, and Leo Varadkar was wrong to say that it was one doctor, and he was wrong to say they'll get compensation. That's of no consequence to these parents who are struggling.
Yeah. Eamon Mc Gee, what's happening in this case feels very similar to me as to the conversation surrounding the Brandon report, which explored sexual abuse of intellectually disabled residents at a Donegal facility. Again, absolutely horrendous. But again, as soon as we start trying to talk about accountability, are people who made decisions or who had oversight, are they still in those positions? All of a sudden, it becomes very, very wishy-washy, seemingly within the HSE, that if you want to try and weed out who may or may not be responsible, every excuse in the book is given rather than saying, yes, we've taken this action, we know this can't happen again with the same people involved.
Yeah, it's that word, Greg, accountability. I think, it's nearly, we don't do